Hey everyone, welcome back to our learning journey. Today we are diving into something super important, and that is punctuation marks. I'm Kate Burdish, and I'm here to teach you all about the different punctuation marks and how they can help us understand what we are reading better. Punctuation marks are like clues, and they tell us how to read a sentence, whether it's with excitement, asking a question, or listing things. Are you ready to become a punctuation pro? Let's learn how to use and read these punctuation marks properly. Let's get started. The first punctuation mark that we are going to be learning about today is periods. What a period's job is to end a sentence and make it a statement or a command. Periods help us separate thoughts and make it clear what is happening. If we ignore periods while we are reading, it can make it very confusing and we'll have a hard time understanding what is happening. That's why it is extremely important that when you see a period, you make a clear stop, whether if you are reading out loud or you are reading in your head. All right, let's practice together. Let's take a look at this sentence. This sentence reads, Sally loves to read books. She could read all day if she had nothing to do. Sally's favorite book is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. See how these periods help us distinguish certain thoughts from the other? If the periods weren't there or we just ignored them, the sentence would become confusing. For example, if it was read like this. Sally loves to read books. She could read all day if she had nothing to do. Sally's favorite book is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. See, if we ignore the periods, all the lines kind of mesh together and it's hard to distinguish what is really happening in the story. That is why it's so important to make a clear stop when you see a period in your sentences. Great job, you guys. You guys learned so fast. The next punctuation mark that we are going to be learning about is question marks. Question marks are put at the end of sentences that are meant to be as a question. When you see a question mark, it is important to read as such. This means when you're approaching the end of the sentence, for the last couple of words, raising the pitch of your voice so it sounds like a question. This is really important because you and the people that you might be reading to will be able to be indicated to that the sentence is meant to be a question rather than a statement. Let's practice how we should properly say our question marks when we see them in sentences right over here. This sentence reads, what is your favorite book to read? Have you ever read any of the Harry Potter books? Did you guys see how I raised my voice for the last couple syllables of the sentence to indicate that it was a question? This is what you should be doing when you're reading to an audience so they can know that the sentence is supposed to be a question. Also, it can be beneficial to read it like this in your head so you have a clear idea of what is happening in the story. Also, doing this can make it more engaging while you're reading. Wow, you guys are such quick learners, so let's keep learning. The next punctuation mark that I want to share with you all is an exclamation point. An exclamation point is used at the end of the sentence to show surprise, excitement, or any strong emotion. Noticing an exclamation point and putting the emotion in your voice while you're reading is a super important tool. It helps readers know the situation in the book and the emotions of the characters. Let's practice expressing exclamation points together. Are you guys ready? Let's practice with these sentences. I am so excited to read the last Harry Potter book. I need to know what is going to happen. Our job as readers is to bring the story to life. And a great way to do this is to express the words as the author intended. That's why when we see an exclamation point, make sure that you're using your big emotions and express them as the author wanted. You guys did an amazing job with learning the punctuation marks that we use at the end of a sentence. But can I tell you guys a secret? There's more punctuation marks that we use not at the end of the sentence, but actually in the middle. One of these types of punctuation marks is called a comma, and a comma can be used in many different ways. The first way that we are going to learn how to use a comma is using it to separate items in a list. Can I show you guys some examples of this? Great, let's get started. Let's look at this sentence. This sentence reads, my mom cooks pasta, salad, and cupcakes. When we see commas like this, it is important to know that these items in the list are still connected together, even though they are separated by commas. In this example, all the foods that were listed were examples of the food that her mom cooks. You guys are doing amazing. You are punctuation masters. But if you guys are up for the challenge, would you like to learn a few more ways how we can use commas? Great. Another way to use commas is to connect sentences together. Sometimes there is a part of a sentence that can be complete if we put a period at the end of it. This is called an independent clause because it does not depend on any other words to make it a proper sentence. But sometimes the author wants to add additional information that isn't part of that independent clause. And because it is not part of that independent clause that is a complete sentence, it is not a complete sentence and we cannot use a period after the independent clause. The additional information added is called a dependent clause because it depends on the independent part of the sentence to make it a proper sentence. I know this all sounded very confusing, but you are all very smart and all capable of understanding this. And don't worry, we're gonna practice together right now. Let me show you guys some examples of this. Let's take a look at this sentence. This sentence reads, he drank the chocolate milk. which made his stomach hurt. Before I tell you guys which one is the independent and dependent clause, do you think you can take a guess? I'll wait one moment. If you said the part in orange is the independent clause, you would be correct. Let's try to put a period where the comma is. He drank the chocolate milk. It works perfectly. But let's try reading the second part of the sentence with a period at the end and no beginning part, which made his stomach hurt. There's not enough context to make it a full sentence. That is why it is a dependent clause, because it is depending on the first part of the sentence to make it complete. I think that these types of sentences where we see independent clauses and dependent clauses being linked together with a comma are amazing, because look how much information that we get. Now we know that he drank the chocolate milk and it made his stomach hurt. Let's look at a few more examples right over here. Although she knew him for a long time, she thought he was weird when they first met. Can you guys guess which is the dependent clause and which one is the independent clause? I'll wait. If you said the second part of the sentence was the independent clause, you would be correct. Let's try reading that part by itself. She thought he was weird when they first met. Perfect, it works clearly, we have enough context, it is a complete sentence. Now let's try with the first part of the sentence. This part reads, although she knew him for a long time. If we put a period there, it wouldn't work, and that's how we know that it is the dependent clause, because it depends on the second part of the sentence. Let's practice this one more time right over here. Because it was raining, we have an umbrella. Can you guys guess which is the dependent and the independent? Try seeing which part of the sentence works if we put a period at the end of it. If you said the second part of the sentence was the independent clause, you would be correct again. Let's try reading it together. We have an umbrella. It works, it's a complete sentence. Let's try the first part. Because it was raining. It's not a complete sentence. If you're trying to decide if a clause is dependent or independent, try reading it out loud and see if it sounds correct. Overall, I want to make sure that if you guys see a comma placed in the middle of a sentence, that we do not treat it like a period. Both part of the sentences are meant to be working together to have the most depth and information. So if you see a comma separating a sentence, make sure you still treat it as a whole sentence together. You guys are all so smart, and I'm so proud of you all for learning so much today. You will soon become punctuation heroes. We only have one more comma rule to learn, and that's when a comma is used to separate an introduction. An introduction phrase to a sentence can be separated with a comma because it is not the main point of the sentence and is just introducing it to us with background information or other details. Let's look at some examples right over here. This one reads, in December, 2 big snowstorms caused school to be canceled. Do we see how in December is background information and that's why it is being commaed? The main part of the sentence is the fact that school was canceled because of the snow, not because it was in December. Another example is, in conclusion, I love to dance because I have so much fun. In conclusion was just an introduction saying that that was the overall thoughts that the author had, that they love dance, and that is the main point. Our last example is, however, I will not go to dance class today because I have to go to the doctor. However, it's just contradicting what is previously said, and it's just an introduction into the paragraph so it all flows together seamlessly. Wow, we finally finished commas. Now for today, we only have one more punctuation rule to learn. We are going to be learning about quotation marks. Quotation marks tell us that somebody else has said the words that are inside the marks, that is not the character speaking. Quotation marks are very important to notice when we are reading because they give us a lot of information. If we ignore them, we might become confused about what character thinks what and who is saying what. Let's practice identifying some quotation marks. An example is right over here. My mom told me, don't go outside, it's too hot. Here, the quotation marks tell us that the mom said that it's too hot and that she should not go outside. Without this, we would have been confused if the character was saying that or if the mom was saying that. The quotation marks help us identify who is speaking. Great job, everyone. Now we all know how important punctuation marks are and how they can help all of us understand what we are reading better. Remember, guys, periods end statements. Question marks end questions. Exclamation points are used for excitement, and commas separate ideas. Keep practicing using all of these punctuation marks. Make sure you're noticing all of them when you're reading, and maybe even start incorporating them into your writing, and make up fantastic adventures. Keep up the great work. I can't wait to see you all next time. Bye!